The Springfield Board of Mayor and Aldermen regular meeting for October is called to order. Please stand and we'll have the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I want to tell you it's been a great day in Springfield. We started out at the library this morning accepting some state and federal money for the Stokes Brown Library. We're very fortunate to able to get those grants. Thank you. And then we went on to a ribbon cutting this morning at 11:30 for our basketball court. Thank you, Terry. It looks great. I know your department's been very busy getting that ready. We'll start with our agenda. 1.2. The approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on September 15, 2020. Are there any corrections? No corrections? Ready for a vote. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Arnold. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. We'll move on to 2.0, our legislative portion of the agenda. 2.1, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 20-21 on a first reading. An ordinance amending section 11-605 of the Springfield zoning ordinance entitled Commercial Service Districts by amending section A, E, and G. Do we have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard. And do we have a second? Second made by Vice Mayor Harris. Ms. Brickles, will you read this, please?
Ordinance 20-21, an ordinance amending section 11-605 of the Springfield zoning ordinance entitled Commercial Services District by amending sections A, E, and G to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Whereas the Springfield Regional Planning Commission recommends that the Springfield zoning ordinance be amended to remove multifamily dwellings in CS Commercial Services Districts. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 11-605 of the Springfield zoning ordinance entitled Commercial Services District is hereby amended by amending subsection A entitled Principal Permitted Uses and Structures, subsection E entitled Bulk Regulations, and subsection G entitled Use of Required Yard Areas to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Questions and discussion? Any questions? No questions? Are we ready for a vote? Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.2, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 20-22 on a first reading. An ordinance rezoning one parcel located in the 9th Civil District on Bill Jones Industrial Drive from R10 Medium Density Residential District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. Do we have a motion to discuss in a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Arnold. Ms. Brickles, it's a first reading.
Ordinance 20-22, an ordinance rezoning one parcel located in the 9th Civil District on Bill Jones Industrial Drive from R10 Medium Density Residential District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. Whereas an application for rezoning was presented to the Springfield Planning Commission by Ackland Property Management LLC owner and Darrell M. Adler, owner's authorized agent, requesting one parcel, tax map 80L, Group C, Parcel 8, approximately 8.4 acres, located on Bill Jones Industrial Drive, be rezoned from R10 Medium Density Residential District to Multiple Residential and Office District, MRO. Whereas the Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed the application and voted with a favorable recommendation for this parcel to be rezoned. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. one parcel totaling approximately 8.4 acres owned by Ackland Property Group LLC located on Bill Jones Industrial Drive, Tax Map 80L, Group C, Parcel 8 of the tax maps of Robertson County, Tennessee, and being more fully described by Exhibit A attached, is hereby rezoned from R10 Medium Density Residential District to Multiple Residential and Office District, MRO. This rezoning shall become effective following its third and final passage as required by law.
Thank you. Discussion, questions?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
do we know, is there something proposed for this property, Mr. Burke?
Good evening. Yes, Mr. Harris, there is an intent to build somewhere in the neighborhood of 60. Townhome is the phrase that they use now, but the intent is to build those to sale on that property. That property is unique in its topography, so it couldn't reach its maximum density, but their intent is to build multi-residential and sell those.
What size would they be required if this zoning's passed?
The per dwelling, it's 3,000 square feet per dwelling is the requirement to calculate the number. There is no requirement for minimum size or a maximum size. The only differentiating requirement within the MRO is that the buildings cannot cover more than 60% of the parcel.
Okay. So by changing this zoning, it's allowing them to do what that they can't do already with the way
It's allowing them to do multi-residential. Right now, all they can do is single-family residences on a subdivided lot. In this particular case, they would be able to do something similar to the townhomes out at the Greens at the Legacy, or not the same, but the same number, similar to what's going on at Village Greens, but it's their intent to have attached dwellings in groups of 3 or so. Like I said, the topography is such where they're going to have maybe even 3 stories, one being a garage, and then 2 stories in each unit. So we haven't seen the exterior renderings. We've just talked with their designers, Clover Engineering, and that's what they told the Planning Commission at the beginning of the month.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions?
Mayor,
Yes, sir. Mr. Sneed?
is that the topography of the land?
No, sir. That's just the zoning.
Those lines don't indicate the topography?
No, sir. That's just a hatch indicating. You could look at this map here, and you could see where the blue lines are, and that indicates that the property slopes down through there. But it's a pretty sharp relief through there.
I see like a wet creek or something there, but
Yes,
I'm
sir.
familiar with it that way. But
Yes, sir. But it's a pretty challenging topography.
well, this is first reading. Before the second read, could you add the topography?
I can get
What they
that for
want
you.
to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions? While he's at the mic. Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Other discussion? No other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.3, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-33, a resolution authorizing the City of Springfield to apply for multi-module access grant. Do I have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, a second by Alderman Hubbard. Questions? Discussion? Pretty straightforward? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.4, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-34, a resolution adopting the Robertson County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Trotter. Questions on adopting this?
We get somebody to explain exactly what this is,
Ms.
so
Holt.
those that are listening can...
Thank you, Mr.
We'll
Harris.
probably get the fire chief to do this, but it has been approved by FEMA, and it's a Robertson County plan, and I know everyone's read all 175 pages of it, but it's for all the jurisdictions in Robertson County, and it will be approved eventually by all of the jurisdictions in the county. But it lays out all of the data. It's primarily a data report that has all of the floods, the tornadoes, the wind, and it's a required hazard mitigation plan that we have to get FEMA funding, basically. Is there something else that Chief Gladowski wants to add? Okay. It's a lot of interesting data, though. It really is.
It was a lot to read. Any other questions? No other questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.5, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-35, a resolution in support of an application for the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Agency Public Works and Economic Adjustment Assistance Program funding. That's a lot of words. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Alderman Arnold. Questions on this resolution? You want to speak, Ms. Holt?
I will. If this sounds familiar, it's because in June, we passed basically the same resolution, and this is for the sludge treatment at the wastewater plant, and it was a grant at that time that was an 80-20% match. We did not get that grant. So now they said, well, if we come back, we might have a good chance of this one, which is a 60-40%. So it's pretty much the same. You've seen it before.
Thought that looked familiar. Any questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.6, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-36, a resolution accepting a performance bond by Reyes Construction, Inc. in the amount of $180,725.33 in order to guarantee the streets, the sidewalk improvements in Sleepy Hollow subdivision, Section 5. Do we have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Alderman Arnold. Questions? Pretty straightforward performance bond. No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
2.7, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-37, a resolution accepting the streets and the right-of-way improvements in Section 3 of Village Greens at Springfield Subdivision, PUD, Reyes Construction, Inc. owner, and accepting a maintenance bond for said streets and infrastructure in the right-of-way and the easements of said subdivision. We need a motion and a second to discuss. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard. And do we have a second? Second by Alderman Trotter. Any questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.8. Discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-38, a resolution accepting a performance bond for Reyes Construction, Inc. in the amount of $153,013.06 in order to guarantee streets and sidewalk improvements in Village Green at Springfield Subdivision, PUD, Section 5. We need a motion and a second to discuss. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Alderman Arnold. Any questions? No discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
We're on to our administrative section, 3.1. Discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the retail electric rates of the Springfield Electric Department due to the wholesale fuel adjustment by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Arnold. Well, Mr. Stephen Sachs, are you going to report, or are we going to let Mr. Nicky Pinson report?
Well, we both know if we need to. This going up. Starting this travel back up.
Whoa, 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 you're starting from the wrong foot.
I didn't have nothing to do with this.
1.5%.
Okay, thank you. We know you're just passing that through. All jokes aside. Any questions? No questions for the new man on the front row? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
3.2, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the monthly gas rates for the Springfield Gas Department. We need a motion and a second. Motion made by Alderman Arnold, a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Mr. Riddle.
I don't have good news. It's going up. The PGA is up 24.04%. But the good news is we're right where we were last October 19th, if you look at the 13-month chart. So
Okay.
that time of year.
Yeah, afraid it is. We're going in towards the winter months, so. Any questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
We will expect you two gentlemen to come back next month with better news in the other direction. 3.3, discuss and possible take action to approve the offers on the surplus property acquired via the delinquent tax sales. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard. Do we have a second? Second made by Vice Mayor Harris. Any questions to Ms. Holt on the surplus property? No questions? Okay, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
3.4, discuss and possible take action to approve the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Grant Award from the Bureau of Justice Assistance for the Police Department in the amount of $10,000 for the 2021 fiscal year. Do we have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Trotter and a second by Alderman Hubbard. Questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.5, discuss and possible take action to approve a Tennessee Highway Safety Office Grant Award for the Police Department in the amount of $15,500 for the 2021 fiscal year. Motion to discuss. A motion made by Alderman Trotter, a second by Alderman Hubbard. Questions?
Mayor, does Chief Ed, do these monies have stipulations?
Which, Bob, are you asking about the one before?
Yes.
So we'll address the 3.4 first, and it does have some. It has to be associated or directed towards COVID relief, and I think what we've agreed on to discuss is we're going after some automated thermometer checkpoints to be utilized here at City Hall, and we can use them in City Court, and obviously use them here whenever it's necessary. The 3.5 is the Highway Safety THSO grant we've been getting for a few years, and it goes towards traffic, applies with having extra officers work the roadways in coordination with the Highway Safety Department.
Thank you.
Other questions while Chief Head is at the mic?
Comment.
Sir?
I must commend this police department, the excellent work you've been doing for the community service that you've been providing, for the crime rate gone way down, contrary to other crazy comments I've heard, okay? And I'm not gonna get off into it, but you've done an excellent job. You got a very safe city. You got a professional staff, and I want to commend you, Chief, for your leadership.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments while he's at the mic? Thank you, Chief Head. Any other discussion? No other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.6, discuss and possible take action on the emergency purchase by the electric department for the 4 Siemens regulators for the district substation in the amount of $175,000. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Alderman Arnold. I assume this is for when we were out of electricity?
That's right, when we can no longer use the district substation and had to bypass it, and we had, it was a serious problem, and so Nikki did a very good job rounding up the regulators. I think we've got, well, anyway, you could explain it more, but we had a 3-phase, and now we've got 3 single phases, and we should be better prepared the next
Plus,
time.
we got a spare in case another one goes out. We ain't gotta go through this again.
It's very rare that our electricity goes out in the city of Springfield when there's not a storm. So lots of phone calls that day. But thank you for
Yeah.
getting it back on very fast.
Equipment's sort of like us, we get old and start breaking down.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Good job.
Any
well done.
discussion?
This money comes from where?
It comes out of the electric department. What line item, I don't remember, but
Okay. Other questions? No other questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.7, discuss and possible take action to approve change order number 1 to the Cumberland Valley construction contract for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade to include the procurement and the installation of a 4-inch flanges. The change order includes an increase of $5,198.68, as well as an extension of 51 days. The revised contract will be $1,034,198.68. We have a motion made by Alderman Hubbard to discuss. Do we have a second? Second made by Alderman Trotter. Questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
3.8, discuss and possible take action to approve amendment number 10 to task order 3A, Gresham and Smith, in the amount of $76,960 for the Springfield Wastewater Department administrative order on consent for flow monitoring. The revised contract will be $1,283,408.55. I'll get that correct. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second. A second by Vice Mayor Harris. Any questions on this task order? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.9, discuss and possible take action to approve change order number 2 to the Morris Wall Construction Company contract for a reduction in the amount of $43,122.32 for Highway 25 and Highway 49 intersection, the natural gas relocation project. The final amount will be $295,937.83. Do we hear a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Alderman Trotter. Questions on this change? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change the vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.10, discuss and possible take action to approve a request to extend the annual street repair and maintenance contract to Sessions Paving for an additional 12 months. The contract would expire June 30th, 2021. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard. And do we have a second to discuss? A second by Vice Mayor Harris. Any questions on this, extending this contract? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.11, discuss and possible take action on the appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Need a motion to discuss. Motion made by Alderman Trotter and a second by Alderman Hubbard. Any questions on this nomination?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I see one is a renewal and one is a new appointment. What happened to the current member and when does that term expire?
Okay, Ms. Holt.
I don't have that in front of me. Mr. Trotter or Hubbard, do you know the end of the term?
Ms. Carroll.
I'm not sure. Curtis Payne was on the board, and he resigned due to some personal problems.
So that term, I'm sorry, that term expires in December of 22.
Okay.
Of 22.
This is just to fill that.
So we're filling that vacancy until the end of that term.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, but it didn't say that on the agenda. When did, Madam Attorney, last month there was an issue about we didn't vote on people who resigned. Are we going to vote on this individual without voting on the resignation? I mean, that was what you brought towards us, and you reviewed this agenda before the meeting, I assume.
Yes, sir, I did review the agenda prior to the meeting. And as stated before, I believe Mr. Nolan brought this up last month as well when I wasn't here. If you vote to replace a person or appoint a new person, it is implied that you are accepting that resignation of the previous person on the board.
Okay.
Any other questions? No other questions? Discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.12, discuss and possible take action on an appointment to the Springfield Robertson County Joint Airport Board. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, and do we have a second? Do we have a second? We don't have a second? It dies for lack of a second. 3 point?
I'm sorry, that was 3.12
Yes.
for Mr. Nutty?
It did get a second to discuss.
I think he'd be a good member on that board. He's good with finances, and we need somebody down there that knows the finances.
I do too.
We can't discuss till we have a second. Can we go back and do a second?
You can make a motion to reconsider.
Okay, we need a motion to reconsider. Would anybody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay. Motion's been made. Do we have a second to reconsider?
Second.
Okay. Now we can discuss.
You can do a voice vote on all in favor, and then you can discuss.
Okay. Hold on just a second. You ready? Oh, okay. All those in favor?
Yes.
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 All those opposed? Okay. Now we can discuss. Mr. Sneed?
I think Mr. Day, with his financial background, that board desperately needs somebody who can speak up when they need to speak up
Okay.
and bring things to people's attention. I think he'd be good at that.
Okay. Other discussion?
I must say, you took the words right out of my mouth, because he was one of the original people back in the day. So, yes, he has a good, strong history.
If he challenges that board as much as he did me, we'll be on track pretty quick.
Got a point. Any other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you. 3.13, discuss and possible take action on the retirement of the city manager, Ms. Gina Holt, and the selection of the next city manager. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Ms. Holt, we're sorry. We're sorry that you're retiring. You've done an excellent job.
Well, thank you.
Commend you for the job you've done for the past, how many years, 25?
Well, it'll be close to 30. By the time it'll be 29 years and a couple months, but who's counting?
I'm just going to say 25 plus. That sounds better, right?
Yeah, I'm not that old, that's right.
We are going to miss you, and we commend you for the job you've done for the past 20 plus years. Sounds better. Discussion?
Discussion that we've already had. A young man that's highly qualified, a young man that was tutored, a young man that I have the confidence in, Ryan Martin. So I feel that once Ms. Holt make her transition, that he move up to be the city manager.
So is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Okay. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard to accept Ms. Holt's retirement and to appoint, is that your words?
Appoint, yes, Ryan Martin to fill the position once she retires.
Okay. Okay, he's made,
Yeah.
Hit that, okay.
No, it's a second.
okay. And Vice Mayor Harris? No. No. Okay. The motion's on the floor. Do we have a second?
Can't type it in. You can't type it in until we have a second.
Oh, okay. She cannot type this in until we have a second. Do we have a second? Okay. No second. It dies. Oh, wait. Well, we have a second. Okay. It didn't pop up on the screen. Vice Mayor Harris has done a second on this motion. Give her just a second to type this motion in. Technology takes just a few seconds. Okay? Now she has it in the computer. Discussion. We have the motion and second on the floor to accept Ms. Holt's retirement and to appoint Ryan Martin as the next city manager. Discussion. I'll go around the room.
Mayor,
Sir?
when Ms. Holt took the place of the last city manager,
Yes, sir.
I think this board was derelict in their duty by not
putting together some kind of pay and benefit package to present to her. She prepared something and presented to us. I think that's maybe reverse. If we're doing the hiring, I think, and we're spending the tax dollars, it's something we should do and offer to the person.
Okay.
Other than just taking something, I mean, you're just going to take anything that they offer, or are we going to get together and see what we want to put together as an offer?
And I want to go around the room to each one and let them have an opportunity to discuss that.
Because we're voting on appointing somebody, and we haven't even talked to them about money and benefits.
Yes, sir.
And I think Ms. Holt, she, personal phone use, after hours, weekends, we need to get this, where you draw a line, when are you going to be on duty, and kind of things.
Sure.
That all needs to be put in there.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Arnold?
Thank you. I do agree that we need to have a benefits package put together. Obviously, for Ryan, one thing that we know by looking at the studies is that a lot of our salaries are under what they should be drastically. And that's something that we should be looking at when we bring someone in. We need to value the time that they put into this. This is not a full-time job. This is a beyond full-time job. This is a lifestyle to be a city manager.
It's a life.
And I think that it's very important, and I know that that's something that we won't take lightly moving forward. And then I just want to say this, just to put it on the record. When we go, and I assume that we're going to be recruiting for an assistant city manager to fill the space, I would like to see a diverse level of candidates. I love y'all, but we have a lot of white men leading the city right now, and Gina leaving is going to leave a void in women leadership. And I would love to see someone, a woman or someone of color, potentially take that position if they're qualified to do so, because I think that gives us a little bit of diversity in perspective. It gives us better solutions because we're all coming from different backgrounds. So I just wanted to say that, but that's how I feel between the two. I think that we really do need to look at salary, and I agree with you, Clay. This is not something that should be proposed to us. We should be prepared to propose it to the candidate. And I would like to see diversity in our recruitment. Thank you.
Mr. Gregg?
I agree with Mr. Sneed and Ms. Arnold also. Something needs to be put together before we plan much, because he may not accept what we're willing to do.
Thank you. I will take my turn individually, and I know that when we hired Ms. Holt, it was her duty to come up with an assistant city manager, and our goal was that person would eventually, once she decided she wanted to retire, she was very honest with us that she would stay 3 to 5 years is what I remember. That's my memory. Where's the 5?
Oh, it's 4, but...
Oh, okay. Well, I remember it the way I want to remember it. And Ryan Martin has proved himself that he's very capable. I think that one of the things, if you set up here prior, before Ms. Holt was hired, we flew people in, and we had those candidates talk to us, and we realized that by having utilities, water, sewer, that we're a very unique city. A lot of cities around our area do not have those utilities. And that is a very important that we do not commingle enterprise funds with general funds. And I think we all learned that lesson if you were here with us during that process. I think that we should not spend the money to do those interviews again. I think we have someone right here under our nose. Yes, I agree with Mr. Sneed. We need to have a package. It need not to be $50 for a cell phone when we're expecting them to answer the phone 24 hours a day. And I think we give you more than $50, but it's not very. It's not very.
On a cell phone. It's my personal cell phone.
It's your personal cell phone. Yeah, we don't even give her $50. That's not right. When the electricity goes out, our cell phones blow up. If there's water running down Memorial Boulevard, our phones are ringing off the wall. We need to work on a package. I'm very willing to help with that package and bring that back to the board. And I'm sure there's others sitting here. Our salaries are not comparable to other places in Middle Tennessee. That's my individual discussion. Alderman Hubbard.
Yes, what I would have to say is, and thank you, Ms. Holt, because, you know, I'm going to really miss you because I've been holding on to you for 25 years. She's been my mentor. In the process, when Ryan came on, he has been groomed. And it was sort of a written thing that he was going to be the successor. And certainly, yes, the move to appoint him is necessary, and the package will come. Because I have driven by with the last two city managers, Ms. Holt included, and sometime 10:30 at night, Saturdays and Sundays they're here. So you're like married to the job. I feel confident in my recommendation because we're getting a lawyer plus an administrator, a good combination there that can help propel us into the future with legal deals as we grow as a city. So I'm very confident in my nomination of you, sir. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Trotter?
Now, I'm going to be honest and upfront. I think the world of Ryan. I think he's quite capable. But I've received some anonymous text from someone and letters that state that we should talk to some city employees before we appoint Ryan. Now, I don't know who Ryan pissed off. But evidently, he had someone. So.
He obviously did.
And I'm going to be upfront with you, but I think Ron's highly capable. But then again, you have to take in consideration of city employees, because that's who he worked for and that's who we represent.
Okay. Mr. Harris?
I will echo what Lisa said in her comments of hiring forth for an assistant city manager, and also to offer a package for Ryan. I think Ryan's very capable of filling these shoes. When Gina went to hire the assistant city manager, as we stated, I think several of us asked her to find someone that when she decided to retire, that would be able to fill these shoes. I will also go along with what Alderman Trotter has stated, but in the same note, I'll also say that I've received one letter and two texts, and none of those have contained any names of any people. And I'm going to sit here and honestly say that doesn't carry much weight with me. If you want to send a letter, then put your name on it.
Thank you.
If you want to send a text, put your name on it. And 3 out of 250 employees, and there may be, following this meeting tonight, I may get 200 more texts or letters. I don't know. But if you're going to state something like that, then put some bite to it by putting your name on it, is my opinion. And with that, I would have an amendment to this motion.
Okay. Your amendment?
I'll make the amendment that the position of city manager be offered to Ryan Martin beginning 1/1 of '21, contingent upon the negotiation of a contract between the city attorney and a member of this board, to be brought back to this board in November for consideration.
Okay.
And under the same note, that going forward, that the position of assistant city manager would be allowed to be posted, so that process can start, contingent upon everything going through with the negotiation of the contract.
Okay. We have a motion made by Vice Mayor Harris and a second by Alderman Gregg. Give her just a minute to type it in. Okay. Okay, discussion on the amendment.
Mayor,
Sir.
I'll have to get Ms. Brickles to read it back, but did it have,
Give her just a second.
What did you say about the assistant city manager position be posted and what?
That position would go ahead and be allowed to be posted
Immediately.
at this time. You know, we can post a position if we change our mind about that, then that's
Yeah.
perfectly legal, is that not, Ms. Barty?
Okay.
Just so that process can start, because
See if this is right.
we are
Good
going
idea.
into this in the first of the year. Gina's going to be retiring, budget's going to be starting in February, March.
Late January.
January, November, December, whenever it's going to start.
Okay.
Position of the city manager be offered to Ryan Markin contingent upon the negotiation of a contract with the city attorney and a member of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Also, that the position of assistant city manager be posted at this time.
And brought back in November.
The contract.
Question, Mr. Singh?
I think things are, there should be, in this amendment, a time limit for these negotiations. Right now, there is none. It's open-ended, that so there's no pressure to accept or not. It didn't have like a 90 days after, like March.
That's up to us in November.
And then also, you're posting advertisements for an assistant. We haven't even approved the city manager. That before got the cart before the horse. That should come after we pick a manager. You can't immediately post an assistant who's going to interview them.
Well, you've got to get the applications in first. And I would hope by the time we had the applications, we would have voted on it in November, is what I'm assuming.
They don't know who they're going to work for.
Really
That
quickly,
we would be finished.
just backing up to his last point of a timeline to approve, wouldn't that be in the contract, though? That you would bring back in November, that Ryan would have 2 weeks, 30 days, 72 hours, whatever it may be, to accept this offer?
You could do it that way.
Right.
That could serve the same
Give them
purpose.
48 hours,
Yeah.
20 minutes.
What?
You have 30 seconds to say it.
Make your decision. Good point. Other discussion? Yes, sir.
One other thing about the assistant city attorney, Ms. Holt, you used to be the
Assistant city manager.
you used to be the coordinator for Title IX. I think, Ann, did you not take that over? Aren't you, isn't that advertised that you're the Title IX coordinator?
You're talking about the Title VI coordinator for the city?
No, I think it's Title IX, I believe, for affirmative action and discrimination.
Title VI.
Yeah.
Isn't that Title IX? Or-
Six.
That's education. Okay, it's Title VI.
And
Okay.
the assistant city
Does-
manager.
Yeah.
Does the city's policy, does the city have a policy of affirmative action? I don't
Oh,
think.
yes, we do.
We are
We certainly
required.
do.
We do.
Oh,
Yes,
yes, we have posting.
we're all required.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a California, New York kind of, I didn't
No.
know Tennessee,
No,
didn't know
no.
Tennessee had that.
No,
No.
we all have to have that.
Affirmative action,
We
where
all-
you have to,
That's all 50 states, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought the Supreme Court changed that after about 50 years from the 60s. I thought they changed that where that was kind of up to the states to do.
We can elect the city attorney, but I know that we have them at my other employer.
Because, I mean, I don't want to disqualify qualified people.
No.
Just because of the color of their skin. I mean,
Right.
that shouldn't be.
Oh, no.
Absolutely not.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Hold on, let him.
So I'm
Are
through
you-
there. I just didn't think that after, I thought I remember a Supreme Court ruling that
No.
got struck down, that was
No.
up to the states.
No, sir, we're required by law for affirmative action. Ms. Arnold?
It was,
I think it was.
Mr. Hubbard?
yes, to echo what Mr. Sneed and Ms. Arnold, we've always had minority candidates interview. So, and we've had minority females to interview for positions, okay? So it's not like we haven't had it, okay? It's always been equal opportunity.
Don't
Absolutely.
get hired off. Get interviewed.
Okay.
We hope.
Other discussion?
We'll just bring one point out, Mayor, if we
Yes, sir.
vote, before we vote on this amendment, someone's going to have to amend the amendment and decide which member of this body meets with the city attorney to negotiate this contract.
Is that what we need to do?
Correct.
Because we did not.
I did not include that in the amendment.
I mean,
Can we go back?
You can
The-
vote on
The first,
amendment and vote on the motion as amended and take a separate motion to name a board member.
okay. Just want to do that? Do the
That's
second?
fine. That's fine.
Mayor?
Sir.
Who on this board has experience negotiating
I do.
employment contracts?
I do. Miss Arnold does.
My background's in HR.
I figured one of y'all two or both, yeah.
I figured the mayor.
negotiate contract every day.
And I'm fine with Miss Arnold.
And the vice mayor, he does. He
Yeah.
negotiates contracts every day.
Yeah. Miss Barté looks like she wants to comment.
As we move forward through this negotiation, it's important that if you all have questions or comments, that those be communicated singly to me, not in a group. Obviously, this will be voted on, so it doesn't, there need to be no group emails on this. Any questions, comments, or terms you would like considered need to be emailed individually to me,
Okay.
not to the mayor, to me, so that we do not violate any open meetings or Public Records Act.
Okay. Thank you for pointing our rules out, because none of us would want to break those. Okay? The amendment's on the floor as it stands. It hasn't been amended again. We can go after we're done with this one and say who we're going to.
And do a separate motion for that, yes.
Yes, and I'm good with Miss Arnold if she wants to do that. I'm happy to do that if you want me to. Any more discussion on this amendment?
What about the time frame?
Well, we have to bring it back, it says in November, to this board.
I'm talking about, he has 2 weeks, 2 days.
That would be in November.
That would be written into his contract that we present.
November.
Okay.
This,
Good question.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
no disrespect, Ms. Arnold, but I would be comfortable with either the vice mayor or the mayor, since they have been on board for a long time and know the scope of what we need to do.
Sure.
Okay, positions and stuff like that. So I would settle for either one of them. No disrespect to you, okay?
No disrespect taken.
Okay, thank you.
Do we want to leave that in there concerning the assistant city manager, or do you want me to take that out of the amendment?
What was that?
Do we want to keep in going ahead and posting for the assistant city manager? I think it's important we get applications,
I'll tell you.
in my opinion.
It's going to be a very long process. It took a year to get Mr.
I
Martin.
mean, I don't see anything wrong with it, but I
Yeah.
don't object to Clay's question about it
Yeah.
either.
Right.
I mean, it's a
we
good
can
question.
advertise it, and it would be advertised for a minimum of 30 days. So I think all of that would be worked out in that time frame.
Yeah, I think our timing would work out perfect, that we'd have the applications.
Yeah. The trends that we see really when we're recruiting for a lot of businesses during this time of year is the application pool goes down because people are hesitant to switch jobs during the holiday season, which might be a little different now because of COVID. But with traveling and stuff like that, people are worried that they wouldn't be able to make interviews, all that other stuff. So we might see a smaller applicant pool, which will take us a longer time to find the qualified candidate.
Okay? Other discussion before
Yeah.
we vote on the amendment?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I know when we had the interviews, and it was advertised and we interviewed for the city manager the last time, I implored you to set up a series of publicly advertised meetings quickly between each other so that we wouldn't have some of our best candidates drug out and drop off. And it took months, and the best candidates my opinion, under pressure back home, dropped out of the race, or candidates that could have been considered.
Well, and I would assume...
Because Ms. Holt was not in consideration. She pulled out. So
Correct.
the people who were left, it drug out and it drug out, and we just couldn't get these meetings lined up. You had to wait a month between meetings. These people weren't going to wait that long.
Well, and
I think that was almost on purpose.
according, we have to publicize and we have to have enough time to publish those meetings. And if we're talking about hiring the assistant city manager the way the charter reads, that will be up to the new city manager
That's what I wanted to say.
to hire that person according to our charter.
Exactly. We don't
So
want-
we will not be part, this board of mayor and aldermen will not be part of this process.
Exactly.
Mayor,
Sir,
make an amendment to strike the advertising, the assistant, until we have a
okay,
secured a city manager.
okay. Can we do that?
Yes, he has that.
Hit your button.
He
Did you
did.
do it?
He did.
I'm
Okay.
trying.
Hold on.
All right, now you hit your...
Yeah, we'll go second.
Okay. We have an amendment to the amendment that we strike the portion of posting for the assistant city manager. And we have, that was made by Alderman Sneed, and that was seconded by Alderman Hubbard. Any discussion?
The discussion is to stay as you said, because I was going to come in and say that. The charter, follow the charter. The city manager recruits his assistant, and we don't want to violate that. So that's why we're making this amendment.
This is just allowing him to post, to post the
You
job.
want to post the job? Restate what you said.
Well, I mean, you're going through the holidays. I mean, we need to get this settled and maybe start posting this in January or something, not now.
All right, well,
I personally think we should go on and post, and then by the time we hire the city manager, we will have the applications already. We're going to be behind the 8 ball if we don't. That's my personal opinion.
I agree.
Any other discussion? Okay. We can vote on that amendment.
Voting on the amendment to the amendment?
Yes.
Voting on the amendment to strike the posting of the assistant city manager.
Any questions before you vote? And you understand how you're voting? Okay. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion fails 2-5,
Okay, we're back to the amendment.
which is to offer the position of city manager to Ryan Martin contingent upon the negotiation of a contract with the city attorney and a member of the board of mayor and aldermen. Also to post the position for assistant city manager at this time, and the contract be brought back to the board in November.
Thank you. Any more discussion on the amendment? No more discussion? Last call for discussion. We're ready for a vote.
Mr. Steen?
Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, so now we have to go back and vote on the main motion as amended.
Can they amend now to include which board member?
We're going to take that separate.
Okay.
We tried to amend twice, and so let's move on to something different.
Okay. Back to the main motion as amended. I got that right tonight.
Ready?
Any discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Now let's go back and talk about who's going to,
Mayor,
sir,
make a motion that Vice Mayor Harris be the man to negotiate the contract with the city attorney.
okay?
second.
Motion made that Vice Mayor Harris is the one that negotiates the contract along with our attorney. Give her just a second. Discussion.
Hold on, I need to put it on there.
Okay.
I need a motion in a second.
Okay.
Now we need our motion and our second.
I did a second.
Our motion made by Alderman Trotter, a second by Alderman Hubbard. Now discussion. Got the cart before the horse.
Alderman Gregg make that motion?
Yeah, he did. Greg made the initial motion.
Why is it? Oh, sorry, we've got a,
Alderman Gregg made this motion.
hold on.
And who was the second?
She's correcting it.
Give it a try for a second.
Okay. Now it's
Okay.
right.
Okay, motion was made by Alderman Gregg and a second by Alderman Trotter. Now it's right on the screen. Any discussion? No discussion, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0 to 1. Alderman Harris abstained.
Okay. We're ready for our consent doc.
Mayor, without objection, I move to approve all on the consent.
Okay?
Second it.
We need a voice vote, right?
Hold on. Let me get this to go.
Hold on just a second, we're having technical difficulties.
Mr. Mayor, before we adjourn, I have a statement I'd like to make.
You gotta have Ms. Holtz first.
Okay.
I won't talk long.
I won't either.
You're on the short stick anyway.
Mr. Harris, will you get your motion?
What am I, oh, okay.
Whoever gets
And
the
I'll
second
second
to
it.
approve. Okay.
Okay.
That's the consent.
A motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, a second by Alderman Trotter. Any discussion?
Alderman Hubbard, for the accepting total consent.
Yes. Alderman Hubbard, sorry. It's 7 o'clock. It's after 7 o'clock. Okay. Any discussion? We're ready for vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. City Manager's Report, Ms. Gina Holt.
Well, since Alderman Trotter wants to say something, I'll be very brief, and I really didn't have a report, but I just found out tonight that the electric department has already installed some of the banners, the new banners with our new look on Tom Austin Highway, right? So I think we have 6 new banners, so be sure to go out and see them. So, and then the rest will gradually be put up. That's all I've got.
We will expect a long report for the next 2 months. Alderman Trotter.
I'd just like to go on record to state that us as aldermen and the mayor, we do work more than 1 hour a month. We meet once a month, and sometimes we call meetings. But we do get calls at home, we get letters at home, we get texts at home. I get a call from 2 constituents today. So there is more to this job than working 1 hour a month and 1 day a month. And I just want to go on public record and state that, because contrary, some folks put out things to get elected, and I understand that. But, you know, sometimes it's fake news. I just want to go on record and state that. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Harris.
I asked this board also, as city attorney made her comment a while ago, if you have things that you feel needs to be discussed in this negotiation of this contract, please email those things to her so that we can discuss those with her, that everybody is a part of this.
Thank you.
And we have, and just to make clarification, it has to be a member of this body and the city attorney, because if 2 members of this body cannot meet, because that constitutes a meeting.
Correct. Thank you for pointing that out. Our meeting is adjourned.